Vacancy Legal Recruitment, a refreshingly unique and personal talent agency developed specifically for legal. Dedicated to the sector and with extensive experience working across legal services and legal technology, we bridge the gap between your requirements and top-tier legal talent. Get in touch today and say hello at vacancy.co.uk. Vacancy, one exceptional placement at a time.
You're listening to the Today's Wills and Probate podcast, one of the leading sources of information for the wills and probate sector. Don't forget to subscribe and sign up to our free newsletter at todayswillsandprobate.co.uk and follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Hello, welcome along to the latest Today's Wills and Probate podcast. Today we're talking about the launch of a new business, My Probate Solicitors, with Taz Khalid, CEO, and Jean Ward, COO. Tasneem, you're as well known for being the managing partner of private client solicitors as well, both of which, or all of which, based up in Manchester. And it's fab to have you both on the podcast. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Let's, in the first instance, talk about who you are and your roles in the business. So, Taz, perhaps you wouldn't mind going first. Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Taz. Thanks, David. And I am the founding partner and the CEO of My Probate Solicitors. And my trusted colleague, Jean, I'll hand over to you.
Hi, I'm Jean. I'm the CEO of My Probate Solicitors. Previously, I worked as a personal injury solicitor for many years, partner in a city firm. And the reason I have got involved with My Probate Solicitors is because I've had a lot of experience of working in the fixed fee market, because personal injury saw a drastic change over the last couple of decades. And it was through my knowledge of how to run cases efficiently and to be able to streamline them that I came into the scene with Tasman. Tasman has all the experience in the private client, but I have to say over the last year I've learned an awful lot about private client work.
I bet. I can't imagine there's a lot of people that transfer over from PI to private client. That must have been quite a journey.
It was. But then what I've learned in my journey is that the law is the law. Once you know how to work within the frameworks of whatever particular law, it's all pretty much the same.
Both great introductions, really appreciate it. And you've alluded to kind of what we're going to talk about today, which is that My Probate Solicitor is very much focused on providing a fixed fee solution around probate. And it seems very difficult at the moment to have any of my podcasts without talking about artificial intelligence, but you're also using artificial intelligence in that process as well. Tell us about My Probate Solicitors. Where did the idea come from? How did it get off the ground?
Tasnim saw the gap in the market. She saw that there was this gap for doing probates in quantity and doing it cheaply. It was from there that the idea evolved. And as I said earlier, she had the private client experience and I had the experience of working in the fixed fee market. That's where it came about. We set it up as a tech-centric firm with AI at the heart of it, or USP is, as we say. We can do it fixed fees, fast, overseen by solicitors. We're a specialist law firm in the private client market.
And I think just to kind of add to that as well, it's by default, not by design, that MPS got born. And what basically happened is that I decided to set up a boutique private client practice after nearly a 15-year career in the corporate world in 2021. And I set up a firm called Private Client Solicitors, which I'm the managing partner of initially. And PCS has always done bespoke advisory, high net worth individuals, complex cases. But we got approached by a company who started sending us volume work. They started sending us volume probates, volume wills, volume trusts. And initially I said no, because I said that's not our business model. We don't do the fixed fee volume work well. We do the bespoke, holding clients' hands work well. And they kind of twisted my arm and asked me, pleaded with us, because we were new, we were agile, to work with them. And I said, only on the condition that you bear with us while we implement some processes, some technology, some AI, because it all started becoming a bit of a buzzword around, in the early 2000s. turn of 2020s, and I thought, let me start seeing what's out there and see whether we can make this volume work, because my clever lawyers didn't necessarily want to do volume drafting. So we commissioned some AI, and it worked incredibly well. We started putting loads of data into this AI machine, probate data, wills data, trusts data. But I'm a cautious lawyer by background. I have been a private client lawyer for nearly 20 years. It's the only area of law that I've done for nearly 20 years. And so I wanted to make sure that we're controlling what's being put into the AI machine. I wanted to create our own AI, make it bespoke to us, because I don't trust what's out there in ChatGPT or other bits and pieces that people are using. I kind of wanted to commission our own, and I wanted to control the data that's being put into it with the permission of the underlying clients, and I wanted to control the output as well with our precedent documents. So being a lawyer and knowing that there can be changes in the law, we wanted to make sure that that process is as smooth as it kind of can be and being controlled by us. We started off slowly and started agreeing to do 5 cases a day, started testing the AI with that, which we commissioned, we controlled, we used, and then we ramped up to doing 50 cases a day. The lawyers had gone from drafting the documents to then just checking the documents. But there's some lawyers who love checking documents, and there's other lawyers who hate checking documents. So you have to find the right fit for the right work. But that's where we decided then to branch, to separate out the businesses and launch MPS. And I went to Jean, who was at the former place that I worked for, who was head of PI over there, or kind of in the senior management team for in the PI department. I said to Jean, you need to come across and be the chief operating officer. I charmed her enough; she couldn't say no, and the rest is history.
There's awful lot to unpick there, but one thing you said about the branding I find quite interesting. Why did you feel the need that you had to create a different brand and a different identity for this?
So I spoke to our PR guys and I said, private client solicitors is all about bespoke, high net worth advisory. That's been me carving out a niche throughout my career of being able to act for very rich people, and I've done that for most of my career. And when you become, I did on a personal level my chartered tax advisor exams, I've done my step exams, and you're as qualified as you can get. And when you act for very wealthy multimillionaires, billionaires, they're a different breed, and they want your attention. So they don't really care that your hourly rate is £600 an hour. They want your attention and they want to use you to do their work. And the reason for setting up the initial private client solicitors boutique was because they want privacy, they want anonymity, they want you to act for them. But I've always had this niggle in the back of my mind, which I confided in my friends about, Jean being one of them, where I'm like, well, but we want to be able to offer specialist service to the mass market, to lots of people who need specialist private client work. But historically, you could never do that because there's only so many hours in the day and you can't be everything to everyone. The PCS brand is in Legal 500, it's in Chambers and Partners, it's in the Times top 250 law firms. It got in there very quickly because of our reputation, the clients that we've acted for over 15 years. But, as individuals, so me, Paul and Nick are the 3 partners at PCS, but me, Paul and Nick are also the 3 partners of MPS. But the PCS brand is the PCS brand. And when we spoke to our PR guys about it, I said, can the owner of Harrods also own Aldi? And they said, you absolutely can, but you need to keep your branding separate and your messaging separate. And then that's where we thought, okay, we need to carve out a new brand and a new law firm that basically does keep that messaging entirely separate. The management team in the background is exactly the same. So the lawyers are going to be different in doing the day-to-day of the work, and they're a different breed. So that's why we decided to keep the 2 brands totally separate.
And Jean, who's your sort of target market with MPS then? If PCS is very sort of high net worth and focusing on that particular sector, who are MPS really sort of focusing on?
General run-of-the-mill public, really, that are in need of assistance with probate and administration or wills, trusts, etc. That it's just having the door open to people and offering them this fixed fee model to make it more appealing to them, because it's that stress of having. The first thing you always think about with the solicitor is how much are they going to charge and how long will it take, because of course it'll be pound signs coming from that, and they want to have that security of knowing this is how much it's going to cost me. Then they can move forward and they have the confidence in that, really. Because as Tasman says, it is down to it's the different models and that it's the different pockets that people have, and some people have deep pockets, some people have just a certain amount of money and therefore can only avail of a certain. Not saying that they're getting a lesser quality of service, but it's just we're giving them that guarantee that they're getting the service at a fixed fee and we'll do it efficiently for them and speedily.
And how is what you're doing here different from, I don't know, an online will writer? And I use the word online in inverted commas because that was very in vogue for a short while, wasn't it? Particularly during COVID. But how is what you're doing different from perhaps the likes of a Fair Will or some of those other brands out there that are offering that self-serve service?
So what we're doing differently is that they've always got solicitors on the other end, qualified private client specialists who are overseeing every single document that gets produced. Without that, there are nuances in every family, even though they might have basic circumstances or they might only want to spend £150 on a will, there might still be nuances, and a solicitor who specialises in private client will check every single document that gets done. And we are a law firm. We're not just will writers. We are a law firm who are mainly step qualified, who'll be looking at every single document.
And Jean, just to come back to what you said about the difference between price and quality, and I think it probably taps into what you just said there, Taz, about the way that the service is checked. But you described it as cheap, but cheap has this connotation of a lack of quality, doesn't it? How do you make sure then that everything is right, is on point, and the advice that the client gets is exactly what they need at a price that, dare I say, might not necessarily be what they might expect to pay?
Basically, we streamline the process for them, so it's not somebody. Using the AI, we're getting the systems in place. Because every probate and administration will have a general beginning, middle and end, although they're bespoke in their own way. So it's setting up the systems to reflect that and being able to have the fee earner run through the case and be able to follow the steps involved. As I say, with the AI in the background, running off the relevant correspondence or relevant documents, etc.
Without the AI, it wouldn't have been possible.
I love your name of the AI, by the way, because it conjures up images of the warrior princess on television years ago, but she is called ZENA. What a fantastic name. So tell me about ZENA. Tell me, if you can, a little bit about how that process works, what it looks like. My understanding of AI, and I have very limited understanding, you have to train it. You have to feed it with the right information in order for that to come out. You're right. I mean, people have challenged ChatGPT to create a will, and it legally, doesn't hold together, does it? How is this different? How are you feeding it with information? How are you training it?
So we've been lucky that we've had a client who sent us hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leads that allowed us to train ZENA exactly to our liking and our specification. And we also sourced a company that would do that for us. So, and on our budget and our terms. So, and that's difficult to do because we ended up with a problem that we wanted to solve. And I think what people are getting wrong in the AI world is that they're going, oh, AI is a buzzword and let's dabble in AI, but they don't necessarily have a problem or to solve, or they don't necessarily have the volume to put through it, adapt it and make it think for itself and make it draft the clauses that you want it to draft. We started slowly and we started inputting loads of client data. Initially, that it was dummy data that we were using, and then we did start using the client data, filtering it through, and in the end, the error rates, so we were tracking the error rates. So the error rates at the start, ZENA wasn't as great. She was almost like a baby trying to learn how to fight and trying to attempt to go to war. But then as she became more and more sophisticated, the more data that we were pumping through, the more accurate documents we were getting at the other end. We were able to do that with the clients that were coming through the door.
And is that something that you brought over from your PI days, Jean? Is that the direction of travel that they've taken? You alluded to the Jackson reforms, which completely changed that market, didn't it, in such a big way? Is that what you brought to the table here?
We had to streamline and look at adapting our working pattern to be able to do it quickly and efficiently. And I'd worked a lot on Proclaim and the Proclaim development side. A lot of people will know what Proclaim is. So it's sort of gaining the knowledge from that as to how to run your cases through that and streamline it. And it was from there I had many ideas to bring across into the private client world, but obviously having to learn about private client first before being able to put the systems in place.
So what's next for ZENA? How does it develop from where it is? How do you make it more accurate? Do you plan to make it more accurate, and or do you plan to develop the services that it could provide?
For us, we've made some mistakes along the way in that we commissioned ZENA, but there were some legal nuances which meant that we had a bit of an issue with who owns the IP rights, which I thought is just assumed automatically. If you've commissioned it, it's yours, right? But there are some nuances. And the other issue as well is that when you're using a third-party software provider and you're a small business, every time you want to adapt or amend or tweak, you're having to go back to the third-party provider. So we're now bringing it totally in-house and having our own software and our own development team in-house. We are still potentially to work with some third-party providers, but bring some of it in-house and some of it external. Before it was 100% external. Now it's a bit of a hybrid, and our vision is for MPS, with it being AI-centric and tech-centric, is to have 100% our own legal tech in our business, which we will use to scale the business. So we want to come in and disrupt the probate market. And there's roughly 150,000 grants issued. You might correct me on the numbers, David, but 150 grants issued in a year roughly, and we want to come in and basically say we want a big share of that and be able to do it quickly, effectively, efficiently for the individuals, the underlying clients who don't necessarily want to go into a sleepy solicitor's office and share the war wounds with them. They just want the job done. They just want to get from A to Z and get the probate, move on, and be able to administer the estate. So it doesn't appeal to everyone. Some people do want the hands held throughout the probate process, and so they might like the hourly rate and a solicitor being at their beck and call. But the ones who just want it quickly, efficiently, cheaply, cost effectively, MPS is 100% the right model for them, because we can just process it and make sure that they're still taking advantage of all the tax reliefs, that they're still getting the right advice, because these are private client lawyers in the background who are there checking over everything, but they're getting the process cost effectively, cheaply and quickly is our objective.
I don't know whether you'll appreciate this comparison, Taz, so apologies in advance, but listeners to the Today's Wills and Probate podcast might be aware that we have a conveyancing publication, and we also have a similar podcast, the Today's Conveyancer podcast. There is some criticism of firms in conveyancing that have gone down this route, where they might be described as volume, or as a rather derogatory factory term that gets bandied around as well. They're often criticised on two levels. One, because the accuracy of their information is suspect, and two, that their personal service is lost. Now, look, I'm not here to say that that is right or wrong, but that is the criticism that's levelled, particularly at tech-led organisations. You're nodding along. It's something that you recognise, but you must have an answer to that.
100%. And that is what makes us different. Well, we already have a really effective telephone team where any time that they want to know where they're on that journey, on that probate journey, they can pick up the phone to us and somebody is going to answer the phone, and somebody who knows about their case and has got access to the system. So our strapline is support throughout the journey. We're not here for the underlying client to just complete a questionnaire and they don't hear from us until we've got the probate papers ready. At any point, if they want a question answered, if there's a nuance. So, we had a phone call just this morning. What do I do about the gas bill? I forgot to put that on the form. I was like, oh, don't worry about that. This is what you do about the gas bill. So there is still that telephone service where clients are going to feel reassured that they are getting that quality and that care. The tech is only as good as the data you put in, and that fact find, that questionnaire, that data gathering thing that we do at the outset, which we will still help clients to do, is controlled by us. And it asks them lots and lots and lots of questions. And it also asks the underlying client, or gives them lots of support, lots of information. So when we're gathering that data, we want to make sure right at the outset that we've got absolutely every question asked and every question answered. But if they want to do that questionnaire or give us that data over the phone, they absolutely can. If they want to come into our offices, they can. Ideally, we want them to complete it and send it to us and then just give us a quick call and make sure that they've understood everything, but they're welcome to come in if they want to. What we see one of our biggest future competitors to be the co-op. There was a post I saw on LinkedIn not so long ago that they turned over 68 million just from doing estate planning work and probate work. And I appreciate they've got the infrastructure because they've got the funeral homes, but they own 50% of all the funeral directors, don't own 100% of them. So still 50% who need to send their probate work somewhere. And the biggest criticism that the co-op get, and their reviews are not very good, is that nobody could call anyone. Whereas we want to be able to offer that service whereby anyone that our number is there, and when they call us, they get straight through to somebody who will say, this is where your case is up to, or this is a question that you need answering, and we're absolutely going to support you throughout that journey. So we're going to be focused on having almost a customer support team who will absolutely make sure that the clients are at the heart of everything that we do.
Dare I say, you take the view then that if a client takes a disproportionate amount of your time on a fixed fee basis, that you lose with that one, but there'll be another client that doesn't, that you win on.
Absolutely. And but then there will be times where NPS doesn't suit certain clients because it transpires on that journey that actually there's a lot more complex. There is a property in France, and then there is a deed of variation that needs doing, and it becomes a lot more complex than it was originally envisaged, in which case we would then offer the services on an hourly rate basis for other nuances that come in, because a fixed fee model will not fit every single case. But generally speaking, if there's a few techie queries on a case where it's taking us longer than in other cases, then we'll just take the hit on that. But we want to be able to offer that support throughout the journey for every single underlying client.
It's been great to have you both on the podcast, and we're fast moving towards the end of the discussion. So I guess the final question I wanted to ask, which is around what the big plans. You talked about challenging some of those big players, the co-op and the like. That's the objective. Looking at the marketplace, I mean, do you think that marketplace will grow, for example? Do you think that as fixed fees become more established, a bit like conveyancing, if we use that comparison again, you do get the very wealthy using hourly rate services, but for the vast majority of properties, fixed fees is sufficient. Do you see that's a possible route that the market will go?
I would like the probate market to go towards being fixed fee, because I think that is fair for the underlying consumers, exactly like it is in the conveyancing world, and there's not enough people doing it. We want to be leading the way and disrupt the way that it works. We are one of the only, or one of a handful of a law firm that's regulated by the SRA who are fully transparent on our website as to exactly what we charge for every level of probate, whether there's inheritance tax payable or not inheritance tax payable. So a client coming to us knows before they even pick up the phone to us exactly what they're going to be charged for their probate. And so therefore we're coming in as a disruptors to the market, and we do hope that the rest of the lawyers follow suit, and it's fair and transparent for the population that is out there. At the moment, the stats are that there's about 500,000 deaths in a year. We are an ageing population, and we are a growing population. So we see the numbers increasing. We're becoming also a wealthier population, so more and more people are coming within the probate net. And the generation now whose parents are passing away, I'm in my mid-40s, and the next generation of people who require probate services are Googling it. Where can I get probate from? Where can I get it from quickly? Because everybody's busy, and we're in a much more of a faster paced environment than we used to be in. So we're hopefully leading the way, disrupting the market, and we hope lots and lots of other people follow suit.
Thank you so much for joining the podcast, telling us all about the warrior princess, ZENA. It's been great to have you on. Obviously, wish you all the very best in your endeavours. Thank you, Taz and Jean.
Thanks, David.
The Today's Wills and Probate podcast is available on your preferred podcast provider. It's also available on todayswillsandprobate.co.uk. My thanks to Taz and to Jean. Thank you as ever for listening, and we'll see you again soon.
You're listening to the Today's Wills and Probate podcast, one of the leading sources of information for the wills and probate sector. Don't forget to subscribe and sign up to our free newsletter at todayswillsandprobate.co.uk and follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter.